to any kind of corporate funds, or didn't use any corporate funds to make any contributions to local candidates or political parties or ballot initiatives, as well as super PACs and 11 didn't make any contributions. However, the Boeing Company Political Action Committee, which is a voluntary nonpartisan political action committee, had expenditures of $1.7 million last year. And so even though the company itself didn't use corporate funds, they did have a political action committee that did. If you go to the next slide. So to talk about the political economy, as I said, they invest heavily in analyzing the interaction between economics, legislative action, trade, and politics on a micro and a macro level. As I said, there was 9 VP levels, just to give you an idea of how much they're investing just on the VPs. You're looking at $5 million in the last 3 years in stock options for just the senior VP, not to mention the other 7 or the other 8. Obviously, in terms of their actual public policy, these are the ones they explicitly stated that are pretty important to them. Defense is obviously a big one for them. They're against reducing defense cuts because 44% of the revenue in 2011 came from defense contracts. Financial services wise, they focus on import and export debt. U.S. import and export banks partner with them, and 60% of the loans the U.S. Export and Import Bank went through Boeing. So I'll touch on the last couple real quick. Innovation, competitiveness. Obviously, they're working on pursuing patents and protecting their intellectual property and human capital. And tax-wise, they're for comprehensive tax reform due to the fact that they found that internationally we're not doing well on how much corporations are getting taxed. And trade, obviously, things like world trade, they fight against subsidies that they believe are to be unfair. So I'll pass it off to Daniel for operating development strategy.
So their strategy, obviously, is to lead innovation. Their 787 Dreamliner technology, very fuel efficient, 20% more fuel efficient than previous planes. They also reduce the noise levels. Their carbon based fuselages. Typically, so in a 747 they had about 1 million rivets, and in the 787 it's just under 10,000 rivets, or actually holes drilled, sorry. And they saved about 50,000 rivets, and that's important because all those rivets require maintenance and man hours in order to make sure that those are up to date, strong, and things like that. They're using, like I said, the lighter, stronger materials. Their carbon, as Anna stated, is replacing aluminum. They actually let customers come in and bang on the carbon so that they can show that it's much stronger than the aluminum, and they don't have to replace it and worry about it as much as the aluminum. They also offer their commercial aviation services, which is a 24-hour network, and these services include spare parts, pilot training, customer support, and technical advice. Obviously, their defense strategy is very important to their overall strategy. As we stated, they reach across all the branches of the military as well as NASA. And this also goes into international sectors as well. They lead in the experimental aircraft, so the drones that you see, those are very largely impacted by Boeing. And then, like I said, the wide range of military products, they reach into the planes and helicopters and drones. Their future strategy, we believe that they should continue to lead in innovation. Obviously, the fuel, as we've stated, from Dallas to Dubai, they're focusing more on the longer routes rather than people per plane. We feel that that's a very important strategy that they should focus on, being that hubs are being more importantly and strategically placed. They need to focus on their strategic alliances, both domestically and foreign, and then diligently work with suppliers. They've largely become, they've worked with suppliers for them to supply sub-assemblies rather than supply just pieces and we supply everything there. We build everything at Boeing. So they're doing sub-assemblies sent to Boeing, and then Boeing is putting it together. So they're doing a lot less building at Boeing from the ground up rather than pieces being put together. They need to target emerging markets. This includes, basically foreign markets, far as countries that are, coming out of their rather increased economy, and then they should remain proactive against competition. They need to be rather proactive versus Airbus rather than reactive. So with that, we'd like to open it up to questions.
Give it another 15 minutes. Any questions?
Okay, let's take a 1-2 minute break.